Welcome to our winter weather outlook. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Russell.
Meteorologist Steve Knight here.
And I'm meteorologist Ed Russo.
Okay, so every year, everyone wants to know how much snow we're going to get.
And we're going to tell you. How about more snow than last year? Yeah, we only got 15.6 inches last year.
And more snow than the year before, which was only 18 inches. And that year was actually warmer than last year.
And it's not like we draw a number out of a hat. We do think it'll be much closer to our average, which is about 28 inches for the season. But don't go away just yet, because the good stuff is explaining why
Yes.
we came to that conclusion.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We're about ready to explain why.
First, let's start with the big picture. What happens in the equatorial Pacific has a big impact on what we see here along the East Coast.
Yeah, it drives the overall seasonal pattern. Ed put together a little explainer.
As Tom and Steve just mentioned, what happens out over the open ocean has a big impact
cut all
here
this out?
in central PA on our local weather. So this year, another La Nina. Many of the past winters have been La Nina, where we see actually less snow. And why? It's because of what happens out over the eastern Pacific. We get the strong easterly trade winds that upwell colder water to the surface, primarily in the eastern Pacific Ocean. That has a direct impact on the jet stream, keeping most of the real cold air locked up over the northern plains.
So when we come
we
out,
get
what do we
into a milder and wetter pattern across the east, and we lack an active subtropical jet, which reduces our chances for a big snow event during a La Nina winter. The other factor we look at is over the northern Atlantic, called the North Atlantic Oscillation, and during the positive phase, we have this area of low pressure over Greenland, which keeps a lot of the milder air locked in over the northeast U.S. and the cold and snow locked up over Canada. During the negative phase of the North Atlantic Oscillation, we get an area of high pressure over Greenland, a blocking pattern which forces colder air southward over the northeast U.S. And guess what? That's partly why it's been so cold recently, because the North Atlantic Oscillation has been in its negative phase.
All right, thanks, Ed. What it really comes down to is pretty basic.
Right. It's a stormy pattern when the cold air is in place. Is it going to be stormy? You need the cold air, right?
Yeah, and here in central PA, it's usually one or the other. We have the cold air, but we don't have the moisture, or when we do have the moisture, it's just too warm and we get rain or a mix.
Yeah, that leads to those mixed storms that are really frustrating for snow lovers.
So what's normal for snowfall in central PA? We go to the answer for that with Steve.
It's always one of the bigger questions that we get. What exactly is a normal central Pennsylvania winter? Well, winter records for our area only date back to 1888. So there's literally thousands of years where we have no idea what the weather was like right here in our area. But since 1888, a normal winter in central Pennsylvania has meant 33.3 inches of snowfall. However, upon closer inspection, that number can be a little bit deceiving. If you look at the 30-year stretch between 1970 and 2000, our average snowfall 32.8. And if you're one of those folks that feels like it just doesn't snow around here like it did when we were kids, you would be correct. Our average winter snowfall rate from 2000 to 2025 is down to just 26.3 inches. Now, a big part of why the snowfall rates have dropped, pretty simple. Winters have been trending in a warmer direction. Since 1888, our normal mean temperature over the winter months, 33.3 degrees. Compare that to the last three winters, and you can see 2023 to 2024, fifth warmest on record, 38.1. Winter before that, 2022 to 2023, 38.2. Now, last winter brought a frigid January and a colder average temperature of 32.2 degrees. But in general, this has all been part of an ongoing warming trend that's been present for us here for the last 20 years. So when was the last time we truly had a blockbuster winter? You got to go back almost 30 years. Winter of 1995-1996, 77.6 inches of snow. That's one that I certainly remember. But the snowiest winter of all time here in central Pennsylvania, this one a little bit before my time, but some of you might remember 81.3 inches of snow the winter of 1960 to 1961.
All right, some great stuff there, Steve. I appreciate you going through the record books like that, but perception is reality. So the last couple of years have been so warm, people say we haven't had winter. They forget we had an inch of snow right before Christmas last year. I think it was on the 20th. So what plays into that normal is not always a good gauge of what really happens.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely a perception thing. And think about if you're a kid that was born in 2017, 2018, you don't start making
true.
memories until a few years later.
Right.
So a lot of young kids around here don't know what a good winter around here could be capable of.
Yeah, and one of the things that I kind of forgot about in going back and doing some of the research is that this past January, just January of 2025, was an extremely cold month
Super
for us
cold,
here.
yeah.
Really, really cold, but it didn't really match up with any of the precipitation. Therefore, it was a very cold January. We had lots of cold air in the pipeline, but we didn't see a whole lot of snow.
Yeah, that becomes the thing, because if you have one blockbuster, people always remember that. And they say, oh, it was such a snowy winter. In this case, maybe a snowy March, even late in the season. So the frustrating thing is, what is normal doesn't add up to exactly, what people's perceptions are.
Yeah, and that's just it. People do tend to remember, a lot of times it's the big one that sticks out in their brain.
Right.
And that always makes a big impression. And so a lot of times that leads to kind of this misnomer at times of, wow, it really doesn't this, it doesn't that.
It doesn't like it used to, right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody says.
It's definitely something subjective. I mean, you could have a mostly mild winter, and then you have 1-2 day stretch where you just get this huge storm that dumps your whole season's worth of snow in the span of 48 hours. So would you call that a really snowy winter that was just like 2 days surrounded by nothing but mild weather?
And the other thing we need to mention here is the psychological aspect, in that, when you're a kid and you get 8 inches of snow, it goes up past your knees, right? But
Hard
as
to
an
walk
adult,
through.
it's something you got to shovel, and you still got to drive to work, and your perception is entirely different from the time that maybe when you played in the snow versus you had to rush to work in the snow. So the psychological aspects of weather just always play a big part to me.
As your responsibility in life
Yes.
climbs, your acceptance for snow just declines, inversely related.
Very true, Ed. Very true. Very true. All right, when we come back, Tom explains how we get big snow, and we answer some of the most pressing winter questions. Stick around.
It's time to review how we get those really big snows.
Yeah, it's really very hard for a big snowstorm to occur around here, and they're rare. That's why you remember them.
Yeah, well, Tom, you're going to take a look now at the pattern that is the absolute sweet spot for lots of accumulation.
There are 2 basic storm tracks that can bring snow to central PA, Miller A and Miller B. We'll start with Miller B, also known as Alberta Clippers, because they originate near Alberta, Canada, then move through the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes into the Mid-Atlantic. Now, these are quick hitters that usually bring light snow to central PA. It is also the more common storm track that we see. But if you want big snow, you want to see that Miller A pattern develop. In this case, our low pressure system originates here in the deep south, tapping into both the Gulf of Mexico moisture and Atlantic moisture, giving our storm plenty of juice to work with. Now, it moves up the coast into a cold environment. As the low strengthens, it can lead to some heavy snowfall. But the track becomes crucial. A little shift inland or out to sea can lead to a wintry mix or cut down on snowfall totals. So as we head through winter, see if you can recognize which type of winter storm is coming our way. Happy tracking. We always have fun tracking. So let's get into
that. Happy tracking.
Yeah, happy tracking.
Happy tracking.
As our hair gets gray.
Well, some of us are already there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of topics. I'll throw out a topic. You guys chime in. You ready? All right. Seasonal forecasts are no fun because there's so many unknown variables. So we're here at the beginning of winter talking about January, February.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, that because of those variables, Tom, look, it's the big question we always get. Folks always want to know how much snow we're going to get, how cold is it going to be, and, a lot of the reality of it is that, as we sit here in December trying to tell people what it's going to be like at the end of February, there are things that we can look at. We can make certainly, educated predictions.
You were going to say guesses.
I was going to say guesses, but there are educated predictions we
That's
can
what
make.
they are.
But it's pretty tough to be.
Yeah.
We're talking 2 months out what the weather's going to be like. It's difficult.
And one storm could go against or could happen regardless of the pattern. And
Exactly.
it completely throws you off. It's like a wild card.
All right, let's talk about challenges here, specifically in central PA. We have the mountains. We have this large geographical region, completely different than what happens in Lancaster versus Lewistown, right?
Yeah, and forecasting here Look, we love what we do. I never want to make it out to be like we're in here digging ditches on a daily day. Like I get that, but it is a very, very difficult area to forecast because even our viewing area is so large,
Right.
so diverse. When you think about how we go from Chambersburg all the way up to Lewistown, then we go to Quarryville in southern Lancaster County, all the way up in northern Lebanon County. It's difficult to pinpoint. And everybody wants to know what it's going to be doing at their
house.
backyard.
Right, exactly.
And it's difficult to get that messaging across.
And you'll get a greater influence from the Atlantic Ocean in Lancaster, York, and
Sure.
Lebanon than you would in Lewistown, which has more of a mountain kind of influence. So we've got that playing a role too in
All
the
right.
differences.
So we know geographically it's challenging, but also in our business, it's hard to be specific beyond 10 days to 2 weeks. We can see patterns, we can't be that specific, which leads us to all the hype you see on social media, which to us is so frustrating. Ed, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, it is. So, this season alone, we haven't even gotten into the winter yet, and we're already seeing these snowfall maps showing just raw model output. There's no human going in there and editing it. It's just getting spit out by the model, and people share that because
Right.
it's a good story. It's showing a lot of snow, but more often than not, those snowfall output maps never verify. Let's show you example one. So this is one that was shared a few weeks ago showing the forecast snow accumulations or the predicted snow accumulation by that model over the course of 46 days.
Yeah, 2 months.
That's highly unreliable. And also one thing you'll notice when you see people online share maps like this, they'll preface it with not a forecast.
Right.
So if it's not a forecast,
Don't put it out.
then why share it? Let's show you example two. This is another example showing a big freak snow event across the Northeast. Of course, this never happened. And then our third example involved the December 2nd snowfall, showing one specific model showing 9 inches of snow over Harrisburg. So that was posted at the same time we put our snowfall forecast map out, which was an actual forecast. Let's show you that. And yeah, that's
guess what we
exactly
got?
that verified.
2 inches,
Yeah.
2.2 officially at HI.
So putting stock in an extreme scenario like that it's the same thing. It's very analogous to calling a Hail Mary at the end of a football game, and you say, "Well, I'm not predicting our success, but I'm just telling you it's possible." And what's the success rate of a Hail Mary? It's 1 to 2%. So it's just they're posting it out of desperation.
Well, they're getting clicks.
Right.
They wanna-
That's the
what it's all
reason. There's a monetary and reach gain from posting stuff like that simply because it's a better story.
Right.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. Social media has been monetized, folks. So when you interact with these maps and these doomsday scenario forecasts and predictions, every time you do that, every time you click, you're putting money in the pocket of the person that runs that page.
Right.
And I
So-
can tell you, shares are the currency.
Yeah.
The
Right.
more shares a post gets,
point.
Yeah.
the more the reach. And
So rely
Bigger reward.
on people that you trust. Hopefully that's us.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, if people stayed home, winter weather would not be all that dangerous, right?
That's always a big one to me because, a hurricane, a tornado, you can't help that comes over your house. But winter weather, if you stay put, you stay safe.
You stay safe.
All right.
Good way of putting it.
all right, yeah, great advice there. All right, when we return, the moment you've all been waiting for, of course, the bottom line, our preview for the upcoming winter.
And welcome back to our winter weather outlook. All right, Steve, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's time for the big moment. Let's get into what we're thinking for the upcoming season. Going to start with temperature. So we anticipate temps near winter averages, which means we'll be pretty cold, as you've already felt.
And we think the cold, as you've seen, will be front loaded, so we'll see lots of cold air before Christmas. We're already feeling that.
Yeah, we'll see a January thaw before the cold returns. The end of the winter will feature the usual swings between cold and warmer weather, which will basically haunt us through March like it always does.
Yeah, people don't realize how long winter sometimes hangs on, and we do have the potential for big storms even into March as well. Now let's talk precipitation and show you what's there. Plenty of winter precipitation this year, but that doesn't always mean snow.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but lots of mixed storms are on tap this season. It's just a fact of life, as we know here in Central PA.
Yeah, overall our snowfall will be closer to average, which is around 28 inches for the season, and that's a lot considering how much we haven't seen in the past 3 years.
So we've already had 2.2 of those 28 inches. How do you guys feel moving forward? Because if we talk about a January thaw, we got to get some of this stuff while we have the cold air in place, right?
Yeah, I think we're looking at another at least measurable snowfall between now and the holidays. And I'm going to say right now that it's a little bit rare, but I think that a white Christmas is potentially on the table for this year.
Look at Steve making the bold prediction.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah.
And if you're wrong, you'll be ruining everyone's dream.
And it wouldn't be the first time I was wrong, believe it or not.
Hey,
Yeah.
All right, we want to show you a time we saw plenty of snow. Take you back to the blizzard of '96. A lot of people remember this because if you remember, we had 2 big snowfalls and then a massive thaw, which ended up taking out the bridge on the West Shore side there. So a lot of people remember '96, but it was early in January. After that, there was no more winter.
Yeah, and the melting that went on, it was just massive, and it took forever for some of that to melt. But boy, once it really started to, and we started to thaw things out, yeah, we had rivers running through the streets.
Well, it
after
wasn't just the melting, because as it melted and we warmed up, we had tons of rain.
Yep.
So you had all this liquid equivalent, we call it, in the snow, and then we dumped tons of rain on top of that.
Yeah, I was 10 at the time when the blizzard of '96 happened. Definitely one of those things that, I think was a catalyst into getting me into weather. But I remember, we have a little bunny hill in our backyard in York, and I remember it just took a very long time to just walk up that little hill. And again, I was much shorter, but as you were saying, the snow's so much further up on you when you're 10 years old.
Well, you're not that tall anyway.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm 6'5".
All right, we're coming up on a big anniversary. It's been almost 10 years since the blizzard of 2016, so maybe we remember that one a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the granddaddy of them all, at least in terms of snowfall amounts. That's
Right.
the most we've ever seen. Folks may remember that actually started on a Friday night, guys, and it carried over into a Saturday. The one saving grace about that storm was that it was on the weekend.
Aha.
We had Sunday to dig out.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, stay with us. When we come back, a final word about our winter predictions. So lots more cold and some snow. Remember, when severe weather hits, the First Warning Weather Team has got your back. You can always stay up to date on the latest forecast on our website, cbs21.com. There you can find the forecast and live radar. You can also follow us on Facebook, where we go live every morning and afternoon describing the conditions. And don't forget to download the CBS 21 weather app. Just go to your app store and search CBS 21 WX. Thanks for watching.